Hello and welcome back to another Walking Dead video, and today we'll be talking about Fear the Walking Dead and the top 10 worst characters on Fear the Walking Dead. But before we get into the video, I recommend you look in the top right corner. There'll be a little icon and it will take you to top 10 best characters on Fear the Walking Dead. So you can watch this before you watch that, or the other way around, it's up to you. But I recommend you do go check out the opposite one. But let's jump right into this video and talk about some honorable mentions, or dishonorable mentions as you would say. And we have number one, the kids. These characters were almost on my list. I didn't want to separate them just because they're all as bad as each other, but we barely got them outside of season 5. We only saw them in a couple episodes in season 5 and that was it. So they are just honorable mentions, all the kids from season 5. And the next honorable mention is Martha, the season 4B villain. She was almost on the list, however she just got beaten out, just because I feel like Martha, she is a bad villain, but you know she's a villain. We've had this on Fear, and it would make it very clear who number 10 is. Martha, at least she felt like a villain, even though she was terrible. So let's jump right into number 10, and it's Logan. And as I talked about Martha was almost in number 10, but I felt like Logan steals the spot from Martha, just because Martha at least feels like a villain. She's a bad villain, but she feels like a villain. Logan, he doesn't even feel like a villain. He's just an annoying character that's around 13 episodes, dies, and then an actual decent villain, Virginia, comes in. That's all Logan does. He's in a really bad season. He's very badly written. He has an okay backstory with basically the reason why he turned bad is because of Sarah and Wendell's actions and their bad choices of past. What have they done? They've led him down this road. However, he wasn't very, intimidating. He wasn't a very good antagonist. This is definitely one of the worst villains we've ever got in the Walking Dead universe. He's just so bad as a villain, so I had to put him on this list just because I remember watching someone else and they were like, oh wait, who's the main villain? I had to point out, oh, it's Logan. And they're like, wait, what? I thought it was just a random character. So he's such a weird character, so he has to be on this list for how bad he is. The actor didn't have much to do with as well, so the acting's not very good for Logan. He's just such an annoying character, and his sudden turn to being good just before he dies is really stupid. Logan's just such a really badly written character. He's so stupid. In 9th place, and this one might be a little controversial because I have seen some people say that they quite like this character, it is Al. I just don't like Al in my opinion, and it's mostly because of the stupid story she's always been given. She's never had good writing. Al, I would say Al is one of the positives of season 7 because she had a very good exit with the CRM and she had a happy ending, which is nice because we don't normally get that in the Walking Dead universe. However, overall in general, Al has a really bad story. It's really annoying the first 2 seasons with Al, with her whole thing being, I deal with camera, I don't get in front of the camera. And then she always does it, and it's like, well, you're such a hypocrite. I always thought Al was a really annoying character. Season 6, she was somewhat interesting. However, she always gets sidelined and disappears quite a lot of the time, which is why I don't really like her. We don't really get to know much of her. She was pretty interested in at the start of season 6 with her relationship with Dwight, but we never got that continued into later seasons. It was just oh, Dwight found Sherry, Dwight no longer needs his friend Al. That's how it felt. I didn't really like her. She was quite boring. The actor was okay, but not one of the best actors on the show. It was just a very boring character, and she wasn't very well written, very in depth. She was just kind of bland, basic, so she has to be on this list. Moving on to 8th place, and it is Wendell. And Wendell was here mostly because we barely get to see him. I don't really see the point of keeping Wendell around if he's in maybe one episode a season. He was in literally one episode, I think, of season 6, and he was in maybe 2 of season 7. Maybe 3 actually, so he was in a scene in episode 15. What's the point of keeping Wendell around? He's such a character that has no story. He had a kind of big role in season 4 and kind of still a role in season 5. But since then, he's done nothing. And it really annoys me that they could do a lot more with Wendell, but they choose not to. So he has to be on this list just because how we know basically nothing about Wendell other than he wanted to join the military, but he couldn't. And that's literally all we know. He's in a wheelchair and he wanted to be in the military. That's all we know. Wendell's just not very there. I really don't like Wendell just because how little we see him, how kind of underdeveloped he is, and how easily his role could be moved to someone else. Easily, season 8, straight up, kill Wendell and then have kind of Josiah be that other part of Sarah, because you can form a relationship between them and they can have a friendship. You don't need Wendell. Sorted. Bam. Already fixed a small aspect of the show. He's just such an easily replaceable character. That's why he's here. Now, in 7th place is June. And she's just such a really annoying character. I was kind of juggling with June. She was definitely on this list, but I didn't know where to place her. Just because some seasons she's more annoying than others. And some seasons she's completely like Wendell, just there for no reason. And some seasons she's very important. Like, I would argue she's very good in season 6, just because she has a lot to do. There's a lot to do for June there. However, a lot of the time, June is just there to be the doctor of the group. Like, she's there like, okay, we need a doctor for Fear the Walking Dead. Who's going to be that? Give it to June. However, it's made June just kind of be a background character. We don't really have any point of keeping June on the show, since that John Dory died. Now John Dory Sr.'s died. Who's June gonna be with? There's no one really for June to connect with. She has no relationships outside of the John Dorys. Like, they tried to give it with Charlie, but as they're doing that with Daniel, there's no purpose to keep June around. She's such a boring character. She isn't well acted sometimes, but she sometimes is okay. She has some cool scenes, but I feel like June is a wasted character. Characters outstayed their welcome. And I just think that June's story is complete. Like, her story was trying to find people and just accepting people, kind of. It was like how she was always changing and lying about herself, and now she's being honest and stuff like that. June's story's just been very stagnant, and I can't really say what her purpose is, so that's why she's on this list. Now on 6th place is Luciana. I know some people really like her, however, she's on this list just because of how bad the writing has been for her. And I definitely think Luciana should have left in season 3. Shouldn't have come back with the reboot. Just because since Nick's died, Luciana's done literally nothing. She's the character that's done nothing for 4 straight seasons. And I really don't like Luciana now. Just because whenever we see her, we're like, well, what's the point? Because everything they do with Luciana, they might start the story with her, then drop it, and then they just write her off for a couple episodes. They don't really know what to do with her. She has such an interesting kind of story. However, she's always very closely tied with Mexico. They don't do anything with her because they're like, in America, like, oh, well, Luciana's always tied to Mexico and racism. Whenever they showed Luciana season 3, her story arc was the deal with racism. She went back to Mexico, stuff like that. What are they going to do with Luciana now? Oh, yeah, she's going to do this, but then she's going to disappear and they're going to end that story arc out of nowhere. Oh, she's going to be with Daniel. However, Daniel's now with kind of Charlie, so what's the point of having Luciana around? It's a really annoying thing to just see Luciana get these story arcs that always kind of not finish. She is a character with no direction. She's had 0 character development, or if she had character development, it happens off screen. It's all very sudden, like, oh, Luciana, who's barely talked to Daniel, suddenly in season 7, they're like father and daughter. They're very close. It'd be cool if we saw that in earlier seasons with these characters interacting. We didn't see them interact for the first time until probably like season 7 properly. They might have been in the same scene in season 6, but we never saw them talk directly to each other. It's really annoying how badly she is written, so she has to be on this list just because of how bad the story is with Luciana. Now we get into the top 5, and these are characters that I generally despise and generally hate. Like, the bottom 5 of these characters which I just really don't like the stories and they really annoy me, but these top 5 characters are people that I actually hate. I think these characters are really bad. They're terribly acted, most of them. So let's talk into number 5. We have Dakota. And I know Dakota's whole purpose was to be a character you hated, and it was kind of meant to be the right, the wrong of Charlie, basically. But Dakota comes off as so spoiled. I really don't like Dakota. The writing around Dakota, going from this kind of innocent girl to being the girl that's suddenly able to kill John Dory, and is the person that saved Morgan, when you can clearly see the size difference. How's Dakota, this tiny little girl, able to go out, grab a bleeding out Morgan, and carry his body to this whole new location? There is no way that character could have grabbed him. I don't know why I'm focused on this, but it really annoys me. Dakota has a really annoying story. However, I do like that she dies. So if she survives season 6, she would definitely be number 1, number 2. But because she died, she has such short presence. We hated her, but we hated her within a small time span. She was a character you loved to hate. She was like kind of like a Joffrey, but not as good. So I really hated Dakota. Her acting was a bit whiffy. It wasn't very good. We just saw kind of Dakota was just such an annoying character, and I have to put her here just because everyone agrees Dakota was just a Charlie 2.0. And just because you're a Charlie 2.0, you have to be on this list because of that. It's just so bad to be a Charlie 2.0. Moving on to 4th place, we have Chris. And some people may have him a lot higher. But for me, Chris didn't outstay his welcome. He was a really annoying character in the first 2 seasons. Badly acted, however, he died pretty early on, so he can't be pushed into the top 3, which are all characters that have massively outstayed their welcome. So, with Chris, he was just so bad because he couldn't act. The actor was just kind of, I'm going to be this weird teen. He has such a weird story to be this kind of prepubescent, like, kind of Shane character who apparently adapts fast. Chris just had a really bad story, and he brought Travis down with him. Chris was this annoying little character that you wanted to die so early on. However, he survived 2 seasons. Overall, basically, Chris was the original worst character on the show in the first 3 seasons. He had terrible acting, terrible story. He was just a very annoying character. Moving on to 3rd place, we have Sherry. And I wasn't expecting to put Sherry on this list. However, season 7 really cemented her place here. I think permanently, really. Just because Sherry has just brought Dwight down. Dwight was a really good character, but Sherry is just this character that's really focused on Negan, and the whole role in Fear is to be like, I'm still mad at Negan, Dwight. We should talk about Negan. And that's what she's done for 2 seasons now. It's really annoying. She's like, we should have kids, but let's talk about how I'm not ready because I'm still mad at Negan. It's really annoying to have this character's whole purpose just to be hint at Negan, hint at Negan, hint at Negan. And I call it, if Honor Dead wasn't going to happen, the writers at Fear were definitely really hinting at, we want Negan to be on our show. That was definitely what I was thinking before Isle of the Dead was announced. Just because how often he was literally name dropped in Fear the Walking Dead because of Sherry. Sherry has literally no character development. Sherry's whole purpose is to be, I'm a tough person, but I'm still mad about Negan. And her whole thing is, Dwight, we should talk about Negan. That's literally it. It's so annoying to see her because you know what she's going to do. And because she's there, she's ruined Dwight. Dwight had a really cool story. It would have been cool to have Dwight kind of find Sherry dead so Dwight can move on, but no, Dwight finds her alive, and Dwight had a good story in season 6 and season 5 because his whole purpose was to find Sherry and move on and kind of be a new person, and he found that. He developed as a character, but because of Sherry, she's forced Dwight to regress into this character that flip-flops to being, oh, I'm still hung up on Negan, to, I want to move on. And it's really annoying, so I have to put it here. Just because Sherry has ruined another character which I really liked. And she just is just so annoying. And I just get mad when I see Sherry on screen and she just talks about the same things over and over again. Just shouting at Dwight, being like, I'm not ready because of Negan, stuff like that. Now, in 2nd place, and a lot of people wouldn't expect this character to be so high, but this character has grinded my gears since their first scene, and it is Wes. I really hate Wes. He's such an annoying character. He doesn't really have any really role. Like, he was kind of set up in season 5 to be maybe this could be relationship with Alicia, but really he just kind of did nothing. Season 6, he suddenly had a brother, then he killed his brother and we're expected to care about it, and then he really doesn't do anything until season 7, which is why he's mainly on this list. He gets mad because Luciana does something which is necessary to get Daniel to focus and help them, and he's like, well, you're just as bad as Strand. And you're like, no, Strand kills people. Luciana's literally sacrificing Daniel in a way to save other people. And then West goes out of nowhere and becomes evil because, you know, he does. I just really don't like West. The acting is really annoying. I just really don't like West. I feel like his acting isn't among the best on the show. Like, we have some really good actors on the show, like Lenny Jones, Common Domingo. We also have Alicia and Darren Carey and Kim Dickens now on all these characters on the show. They're all very good actors. And then we have West's actor. And it's just like, well, okay, you're mediocre. You're a mediocre actor. I just didn't really like West. He's really annoying. His storylines are always bad. He's such an annoying character, and he's another character who's underdeveloped. They give him a half-done story like Luciana, and then they switch him to a new story, and they switch him again. And it's just such a boring point. And I think the reason why West sucks is definitely related to how they tell their story, with the like kind of anthology focus on one character per episode kind of focus. That really has hurt a lot of characters and really has put a lot of characters on this list, in my opinion, because they do not have the time to grow and develop. We barely knew West, and what we knew about him, he just came off as just kind of a jerk and just very infrequent of, I'm a good guy, I'm just going to be bad now because I can. West is just such an annoying character that had no development. He had just zero story, so he has to be on this list. Now, in first place, and everyone suspects this, it is Charlie, the worst character in the entire Walking Dead universe. Charlie is literally the replacement Nick. Like, she killed off Nick, okay. If they killed her then, or we had her maybe be some sort of villain arc, and then had her slowly redeem herself, that would have been fine. But no, the reason why everyone hates Charlie is because she was forced down our throat. Like, the writers killed off Nick, then had Charlie be like, I'm going to replace Nick, and Alicia's going to like him. Alicia might have suddenly like flipped herself and been like, I'm going to like Charlie now. However, the issue is that we never had that redemption or that kind of forgiveness that Alicia had to Charlie. We were just watching it and saw Charlie somehow become forgiven by everyone, and everyone now likes Charlie, and no one talks about how she murdered Nick. It's really annoying how she was forced down our throat, and everyone just had to sit here and take it, while the writers are like, everyone must now like Charlie because Charlie is new Nick. It doesn't help at all that Charlie really has no good stories, just because what they do with Charlie is that they're going to give it with Daniel. However, that was nice, but they couldn't easily give it to other characters, so like her role seems easily filled by many other better characters. So Charlie has boring stories, she did one of the worst things and we were forced to like her. Also, the actor for Charlie is not very good. Look at episode 10 of season 7 for a prime example. It was a Charlie heavy episode. It might have been better than the Alicia episode previously, but it was just so cringy, so bad, and the acting was just so stilted. It's a very, very bad. So the character of Charlie is worsened by the low level of acting we get, and it really sucks. We get a lot of screen time with Charlie in these seasons, so we see a lot of this cringy acting. We get reminded all the time that this is the person that killed Nick, and we just get forced worse, like it gets worse and worse each season, of characters being like, this is Charlie, she's an innocent character, and no one seems to mention that she brutally murdered a person, and then everyone just kind of adopted her for no reason. It really sucks, and that's why she's a number one. Everyone agreed Charlie would be a number one, but that is my list. Please tell me down below, do you agree with my list? Do you disagree? If you disagree, what is your list? I would like to know your top 10 worst characters and 1 or 2 honourable mentions. And if you want more Walking Dead content, please look on the screen. And if you want the top 10 best, look in the top right. If you want recommended, look in the bottom. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, and I recommend you do, please subscribe, because I upload 2 videos every week, and I hope you keep up to date with all things Walking Dead. And make sure, one final thing, hit that like button to help out the channel. But this is it for me today. Goodbye, peace out, and I'll talk to you later.